Hi, everyone. I am Rachel Blank, the founder of Allara Health, and today I am joined by Mady Maio, a content creator and the founder of Camber. Mady, I'm so excited to chat with you today. Thanks so much for joining us.
I am so delighted to be here. I can't wait to talk about all things women's health, one of my favorite topics. So let's get into it.
Amazing. Maybe to kick off, I'd love to, just have you introduce yourself, share a little bit more about who you are and your background.
Yeah. It's such a interesting question, but I guess at this season of my life, I am a co-founder to Camber, which is a platform that shares things to do, places to be in Los Angeles. And I'm also a content creator. I am about to start my own solo podcast. I used to have a podcast with my sister for 6 years called Okay Sister. And so I'm very interested in how women show up online and the different ways that we can connect both IRL and on the internet as well.
Amazing. I love that. You talk a lot about slowing down and being intentional. How would you describe your current relationship with wellness today?
So I see wellness as something that is highly individualized. There's really no one size fits all approach. And that's really hard to grapple with, especially as you're just trying to find a solution and you hear so many voices. I don't know about you, but I listen to so many podcasts. I read so much and I'm inundated with all these solutions of what has like a guaranteed success for any other person. And then I implement it in my life and there's no results. So really I've had to block out a lot of that noise and kind of just understand that a lot of the answers are within. I know it sounds so cheesy, but I anytime that I've found something that was like an unlock for me, it's because of that inner voice that told me to do it or to trust it. And so now if I'm kind of running around with my head chopped off and I'm just like, wait, why is nothing working? I come back to that and I sit with myself and I just realize like I have all the answers. Like, why am I looking outside? Why am I looking outside to like outsource my problems when a lot of the solutions are within?
Yeah, that's so interesting. I found the same thing. Like when I was going through my own PCOS journey, I felt like I was just listening to all these influencers and all this one size fits all advice when in reality, it all needs to be so personalized to you, right? And I think, they say
Absolutely.
women's intuition knows so much. And I think it's so true. Like you, at the end of the day, know if something's off in your body or what works for your body. I think that's such a good call out.
Yeah, I think it's building a toolkit, right? So it's this wellness toolkit that you have at your disposal that you can kind of reach in and grab what you need at that moment in time. And it's something that evolves and shifts depending on what season you are in life. I always come back to this. I don't know if it was Melissa Woodhealth that said it first, but she always says this and it stuck with me is how good do you want to feel good? And really only you can answer that. And only you know the answers to what makes you feel good, right? So I always come back to that question.
Yeah, I love that one. I'm curious, is there something that you've implemented, like one of these unlocks or something in your toolbox that you feel like has made a really big impact for you?
Yeah, I know again that it's so Instagrammable right now, but I've been journaling and meditating for years and years. And I'm not going to lie, like it did take years for me to see results and an impact. So it's a practice that you really need to be so dedicated to. But something about putting pen to paper, in my instance, pencil to paper, I'm a pencil girl. It's a whole thing. But something about getting the thoughts out of your brain. Obviously, there's a ton of science around it, but it is once you do it, you feel this insane release. So every morning I journal. I don't look at my phone for probably like the first hour of the day. I journal and then I'll meditate, whether that's just with myself. I'll use the Open app, or I'll do it to Be Magnetic, deep imagining, and kind of do like more manifestation work. But those practices like help me so much again to reconnect to that inner voice, that inner trust. And the no phones in the morning is game changer.
Oh my God. I really need to, that's like my one habit I really need to crack. I need to stop using my phone in the morning. I can
You
just feel like the anxiety setting in too early.
Oh, absolutely. No, it's like you're inviting in so many outside voices and stressors before you're even primed to deal with them. And
Hmm.
I put my phone in a different room while I sleep. It is completely changed my life because now, and I have like on Amazon, I bought a vibrating alarm clock. So I
Oh,
literally, it's so old school and disgust. It's so ugly and not aesthetic, but it allows me to have my phone in the other room. And that way, when I wake up, like I forget, I was like, wait, where's my phone again? Like it's not right
yeah.
on my nightstand, and it's not also my alarm clock. So I highly recommend that.
Okay. You are very much inspiring me. I'm
Good.
gonna give it another shot.
Yeah.
I'm curious. I feel like, as somebody who lives their life more publicly, who's a content creator, and also navigating your own wellness journey, I can imagine that can be really difficult to think about how do you manage that? How do you think about what to kind of share or keep private? How do you balance having this kind of more public persona and navigating your own, wellness and peace and deciding what to share?
That is such an interesting question because I contemplate it every day because as as a content creator and someone that really loves to create and to share my life, there's always this constant thought in the back of my head of, oh, you
Hmm.
should be filming this. Like, oh, this would be great for content. And you have to turn that off. Like there's just no way for me to be able to navigate my life if
Hmm.
that's just like constantly on in the back of my head. Balance to me, ugh, it's such a interesting word, but I see it more as this flow state. I don't put like very hard boundaries on, oh, this is when I work and this is when I did it. Like no, like my
Right.
life is I'm online, I have a business, I whatever, I love my own hobbies, and I'm just unapologetic about it. I'm like, okay, now I'm doing
Yeah.
this time is coming in. Okay, I can answer a text about something for the business here, but I'm never so rigid. And when I find that I am too rigid about it, then I get a little more anxious where when there's this flow state of it just like coming and going and it's a Sunday and I'll answer emails here or whatever. Like it feels more integrated into my life than
Hmm.
creating those like very rigid boundaries, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense. I'm curious how you wear so many hats. You're a founder, you're a creator, you're a podcast host. Have you
Mhm.
ever gotten burnt out? And what do you do when you feel like you're reaching that kind of burnout moment?
Oh, Rachel, yeah, I get burnt out like every week. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
When I feel myself really, it's like, okay, we're on the precipice. We're about to
Yeah.
go down the mountain. I definitely I look at my calendar, first of all, and I remove as much as possible. I think there's something about it. I overcommit a lot. And so I
Mm-hmm.
will scale back and say, okay, I'm only going out 1 or 2 nights of this week rather than every night. And if I see on my week that I have something every single night, like I know I'm going to be burnt out. So
Yeah.
I have to juggle between there's so many amazing networking opportunities that I want as a first time founder and also a young startup. Like, I do want to be present for those. And we have a lot of partners that I love to meet with and maintain those relationships. But I know that I will not be able to sustain those relationships if I am overcommitted in that way. So I look at my calendar, I scale back, and again, the no phone. Like I'll take weekends to seriously like 5 hours just sit on my couch and read. Like I am just the removing of the phone is the
Okay.
biggest game changer when it comes to navigating burnout and making sure that you're not going over that edge.
Yeah. That's such a good call because I feel like it's so easy to be 100% on all the time when you're connected to your phone, and giving yourself that
Absolutely.
space, I feel like, is so important.
Hmm.
Um, I'd love to dive in more to your experience as a founder. Could you
Hmm.
tell us a little more about Camber and what made you decide to start an app focused on real life connection?
Yeah. So Camber is really about discovery and exploration, right? So we help people uncover new experiences and places in their city. And whether we do that through content, through our newsletter, through our IRL community events, it's all about servicing our audience and giving them the space to discover their next favorite place and then also meet friends along the way. And, we sought out to create a platform like this, but it ended up becoming people's go-to in the city of trusted, curated recommendations. And there was just a white space for that. Like, I really didn't feel like there was a trustworthy source for people to go to when discovering their city and navigating it. And we became that like BFF for them that they could trust. And through the events that we put on, they're able to foster these, offline connections and, again, discover the city, because that's really what our main purpose is.
Yeah, I love that. I know we've been talking about wellness, and I feel like such a big part of that is like social connection and mental health and kind of combating loneliness. I'm curious how you think that wellness piece ties into what you all are doing at Camber.
Yeah, I mean, Los Angeles is, one of the biggest cities in the entire world. And we hear from our audience members time and time again that we helped them transition to their new home here in Los Angeles. We get a ton of people who are new people to LA who find us and use our platform to either discover places in their neighborhood and find their local spots and become regulars at those spots. And then they'll go to events that we recommend and find their best friends and find their little cohort. People come up to me constantly saying, "Oh my gosh, like, you saved me. I just moved to LA a year ago and now I like feel like I have the lay of the land. I know exactly where to go." And I've lived here for nearly 12 years, so I never had to go out and explore and, find new friends because I've just kind of been here. So we didn't really set out to create a platform like that. But then when people started telling us that they were new inhabitants to Los Angeles and that this was helping them, it's the best feeling in the world to make a city feel like someone's home. And that was something that we fostered for them. Like, it means the world.
Yeah, that's incredible. I feel like that must be so meaningful to people, especially people who come to a new city, feel alone. Are you guys expanding to new cities soon?
Yes, that is on the horizon. Something about building a business, and as you obviously know, is the constant reckoning of scaling versus, keeping it that intimate, cool factor that we have and that we've really, really harnessed here in Los Angeles. Yes, of course, I want to bring the magic of Camber to every place, and that would be amazing. But I also know the type of company I want to build, and we're very fortunate that we have the privilege of building slower and building more intentionally, which is how I want to lead. I am like very anti-hustle culture. I'm anti all of that. So to scale it and to go into multiple cities all at once, like, obviously is just not going to happen for us. But yes, of course, I would love to be in New York. I would love to be in major cities. And so that people, when they kind of bop around, they know they have a trusted resource there as well because they're familiar with the Camber brand. But from an operational standpoint and from more of a what do I want from the business and the lifestyle that it provides me, that's definitely something we're going to slowly do rather than kind of go all out at once, if that makes sense.
Yeah. No, that makes so much sense. I think, especially now, I think consumers are so smart and they know when something has like the flashy wrapper around it, but doesn't have a lot of substance versus like you truly took your time to build something trusted. And, it's so much easier or you can lose trust so much more quickly than you can build it, right? And so I think that makes so much sense. I love actually what you said about, thinking about the business that you want to build for yourself, because I think as a founder, not enough founders think about that. Like, it's such an impact on your life and how do you want to live your life every day? Do you think we've kind of over glamorized hustle culture, founder hustle culture? Like, How do you think about that right now?
Oh my God. I mean, I, the fact that building a company is glamorized or people I always say like I wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy. Like it's so
Yeah.
difficult. But look, obviously there are incredible aspects to it and it's so fulfilling if it's something that you really, really are passionate about. I warn people that it isn't getting Forbes 30 under 30 and going to all these little parties and then selling your company for $100 million that like yes, we see all those success stories, but what you don't see is the constant navigating of rejection, of uncertainty, of responsibility. You having to really contemplate with how do I celebrate big wins, but then also keep going and keep myself intrinsically motivated. And I don't see any external validation yet, but I just believe in myself so fucking much that I'm just going to keep going. Like that energy is happening for 10 years or more underneath the surface than anything we see on the highlight reels. And so, yes, it is completely glamorized. We made the decision not to raise venture capital because I did not want investors to essentially force our business into scaling faster than it needed to. I knew what they would have wanted, and they would have wanted us to be in every city. They would have wanted us to scale at like way faster than it probably should have. And I don't take it lightly that I feel so fortunate that we have been able to bootstrap and we've been very successful in that way. And so that to me is the business I want to run. I want to call the shots. I want to be able to take a week off if I want to. I want to be able to build a company culture that I want to be a part of, that also fosters entrepreneurial spirit in all of the people that I hire. But it's definitely not talked about. I also get tripped up even talking about it because I am like, oh my God, people are going to judge me. People are going to think I'm, not building it the right way, or that, I'm not working 13-hour days and pulling all nighters. I'm like, no, that's not what I want to do with my life, nor is that like anything I condone. And so I think there are so many different ways to build a business, and being a founder, you have the luxury of creating that for yourself and really setting the tone, setting the schedule. The most beautiful part about being an entrepreneur is the freedom of that, right? And so I don't take that for granted, and I really I take advantage of it. Like, this is my company, and this is how we've decided to build it, and I'm unapologetic about it.
That's amazing. I mean, I can say as a venture-backed founder, and I'm sure every venture-backed founder would agree, I'm a little jealous that you don't have to deal with that.
No, I mean, I've thought about it so much because when we started to raise money, and I was doing it on autopilot because I thought that was what I was supposed to do. I think most founders think and it's the stamp of approval and it's the little gold star. But what you don't realize is when you take that money, you need to return that money 10x in probably way less years than you're meant to. So I think we need to change the narrative on that. I don't know where there's so many other ways to get money or bootstrap your business. I just don't know why it's become such a stamp of approval.
Yeah, completely. I mean, I give advice to potential founders all the time. And I think, one thing I always say is you need to start with the idea, not wanting to be a founder.
Yes.
I only started a business because I could not stop thinking around this problem around women's health that I had to solve. I don't know that I could do it and get up every day and go through it if it was, I wanted to start a business and I found a problem versus I found a problem. And so I needed to start a business.
Yeah.
And also, the other advice I give is not every business should be venture backed. I think for us, there really was no alternative. The startup costs were high. The regulatory costs were high. To build what we needed to build for women's health, I needed venture funding, but a lot of businesses don't. And I think that's such a good call out that you need to think about what makes sense for you and your business.
Yep, absolutely.
I know you said you love talking about women's health.
Mhm.
And at Allara, I think one thing that we talk about a lot is how often women's health can be, overlooked or minimized for so many women. And I'm curious if you've ever, felt that your kind of experience in the healthcare system has been minimized or overlooked and how you navigated that.
Yeah, I mean, all the time, basically. The one example that comes up for me a lot is birth control. And,
Mm-hmm.
you know, we were given this solution, which was revolutionary for its time when it was developed and changed the course of women's health, which is incredible. What it then started to do is really alter a lot of our hormonal health and our health in general. And I used to have an IUD, and then it gave me so much acne. Then I had to go on spironolactone,
Mm-hmm.
and it was like this ping pong effect of like, okay, what Band-Aid medication can I put on each thing? So I removed my IUD, and it was because I had Elisa Vitti on my podcast, and she like completely changed
Oh,
my
love
life. Like
her.
she was like, "Oh no, you need to get your IUD out yesterday." And I was like, "Don't tell me what to do." And then she convinced me like in real time. If you listen to the episode, by the beginning, I'm like,
So funny.
"No, that doesn't make sense for me." And then at the end, I'm like, "Oh, I'm booking my session to get it out." So
Yeah.
but again, it was because of this lack of information. I literally, if I didn't have her on my podcast and be able to talk to an expert directly, I was in a very privileged position to be able to do that. I literally asked her, I was like, okay, but like what happened? Like, how do I not get pregnant then if I'm not on birth control? And she's like, you use condoms? Like, what do you mean? Like, or she's like, you can pull out. Like, it was just so, I can't, like, it was just so foreign that it was like, no, birth control equals
You
not
have
getting pregnant.
options.
So I didn't know there was an alternative, and I've been cycle tracking and, syncing and all that for as long as I've been off the IUD. And just to know that I'm not pumping my body with synthetic hormones anymore, and then I'm that layer of it has been removed, has been such a game changer to my health. But again, it's so overlooked. I wouldn't have known to do that. And now thankfully, like a lot of my friends are on the same boat as me, and it seems to be more common, which is awesome. And a lot more education has been brought up about it. But yeah, I remember that moment where I was like, wait, what do you mean I can go off birth control and not get pregnant?
Yeah. No, I mean, I think you're pointing out such an important thing, which is as women, we need to have space to have more information, to have more conversations and ask experts. I mean, it's why at Allara, for example, we give patients 30 minutes in their first few visits so you have time to ask these questions because, like we talked about earlier, it's so personal. Like I love hormonal birth control. It's worked so well for me. Like
Good.
I really love it, but it doesn't work for everybody.
Yeah.
So like going off it wouldn't work for me. Going on it doesn't work for you. Like it's all so personal. And I agree, like we all need to be able to have that conversation at an individual level.
And the access to those experts and to those sources. Yeah. It's everything.
Completely. I'm curious, especially as somebody who's, been a creator, been very online. How do you think the conversation around women's health and hormone health has changed over the past few years?
I guess I have always been very open about anything happening in my health journey. I know a lot of people don't feel comfortable sharing. I just think it's part of my nature, and I really love connecting to women when I share. Literally, the most responses I'll get is anytime I post about my hormonal acne or my bloating or, things that I'm doing to try to alleviate both of those symptoms. And it's so clear that we're all kind of suffering in silence together. And I think as content creators, it's so important for us to highlight those things, because it can get so easy to just sit on your phone and scroll and see everyone looking hot, looking no acne, looking not bloated. And you're just like, what am I doing wrong? And so I always love to share like more of that realness, because not only does it make me feel good, because people respond to me and say, oh my God, I'm going through the exact same thing. I'm with you. I'm in the same boat. I'm like, great. I'm not alone. I'm not crazy. Like, this is a very common experience. So it's as much for me as it is for them. And I think it's so important to share those things online, because it's just, it's not cute, but honestly, it's what people relate to the most.
Yep. Yeah, I think it's so powerful when people like you share that message, because just like you said, these things are so common. 1 in 3 women has a hormonal condition. I think all of us have like the days of the month where we're bloated or have, something's always going on. And yet it's so easy to feel like you're this freak and it's just you. And I think it's so impactful when people share. Yeah. I think you're such an inspiration in all of the things you've done, the things you're doing. What advice do you have for other women who are, in their building era, or have a lot going on at work and also want to maintain balance? What's some advice you might have?
I heard this quote the other day that has stuck with me. I think it was on Mel Robbins, because she's like God, this woman. Love her. She said, if everything's important, nothing's important. So I always think that, and when I look at my task list or I look at my day and I'm like, oh, everything needs to get done. Like, everything on this list no, if everything's important, then nothing's important. What are the highest priority? What are things that will move the needle the most, and let's prioritize those things. So I think when you're in your building era or you're wanting to do it all, again, there's just seasons of your life. There are going to be levers that you're gonna have to or dials you'll have to turn down in order for others to shine brightly. So whether that's, you might have to say no to some times going out with your friends on the weekdays, right? If you're looking to really go full on your business, and that's totally fine. Again, if everything's important, then nothing's important. So I take that to heart and I really prioritize. And as a founder, you'll realize this, there's always more to do. There's always more to do. There could be so many other things, but I force myself to just do the highest priority for that day. And that's it. Because that's where you fall into the burnout territory.
Yeah, that makes so much sense. I think in business school, one of my professors said, you can have it all, but not all at once.
Yeah.
And that really stuck with me.
Yeah.
I think it is so true.
Yeah.
All right. If you could tell your younger self one thing or one piece of advice, what would it be?
This is also a quote that I heard the other day that I love. Your life is not a dress rehearsal. So I think I lived, especially in my 20s, it was like I was living in a dress rehearsal. I was like, okay, I'm waiting for my life to start. I'm waiting for the happiness to be here, or the thing to be here, the moment where I'm satisfied, the moment where I'm fulfilled. And when you realize no, this is your life now. This is not the dress rehearsal. You're not prepping for something. This is the life. And I always come back to that when I feel like I'm way too future tripping or way too much, those moments where you're like, okay, if I get X, then I'll be happy. If I get this, then I can rest. And it's what are those things? What are those arbitrary, weird things? Because look, as founders, you're going to get to those things. And guess what happens? You just move the goalpost a little further. And then you're like, okay, wait, when I get to that, that's when I'll be actually happy. That's when I'll actually celebrate and rest. You never do. So I am so bullish on making sure I'm living right now. And that means celebrating the big wins now, really, really being proud of myself now, telling myself I'm successful now. These are things that you can feel for yourself. You do not need to wait for some arbitrary date in the future when things are going to magically fall into place, because spoiler alert, they don't. So I always come back to that. Is your life is not a dress rehearsal.
That is such great advice.
Yeah.
Mady, I tell you, I really enjoyed this conversation. I am leaving so inspired, as I'm sure so many women listening will be. Where can everybody find you who's listening?
Oh, you can. So if you're in Los Angeles and you want to follow Camber, it's at Camber app on Instagram and TikTok. We have a weekly Substack as well that shares all the coolest things to do in the city that week. And you can follow my personal account at Mady Maio, MadyMaio on Instagram and TikTok. And it's very silly over there. It's fun. And I'm excited to connect more.
Awesome. Thank you so much. This was great.
Thank you.